Good day and welcome. I am Joseph Lewis, curator of the Exhibit of Divine Interaction. Since the dawn of creation, and even more since the dawn of reason, man has sought wisdom through divine elements, whether through ritual, sacrifice, meditation, or prayer. Humanity has attempted to interact with the gods throughout history. Here, at the Exhibit of Divine Interaction, we shall see if their efforts were merely futile or purely divine. We begin our journey by crossing the Nile River from the city of Luxor to the Deir el-Bahri region in Egypt. Here, we approach the Valley of Kings, where prominent Egyptian pharaohs have constructed monumental pyramids and temples as testaments to their great reign. However, one of these mortuary temples stands out among the rest of the pharaohs. Queen Hatshepsut is the first major female ruler of written civilization and a pharaoh of Egypt. Hatshepsut ruled in the middle of the 15th century BCE. Off in the distance I can see her temple now, carved into that massive mountain. Queen Hatshepsut was the daughter of King Thutmose I, and married to her half-brother Thutmose II, who inherited the throne in 1492 BCE. After Thutmose II died, his infant son Thutmose III became pharaoh, allowing Hatshepsut to act as regent. She would eventually be seen as co-ruler of Egypt, and formed a narrative that she was not the child of Thutmose I, but rather of her mother, Ahmose, and the god Ammon. This divine birth elevated her necessary rule, and finally she was crowned as pharaoh herself. Her reign is remembered with little war and much economic trade and growth. Here we are. The Mortuary Temple of Hatshepsut. She ordered it to be built shortly after 1479 BCE. It is made of limestone and modeled after Mentuhotep II's temple. He ruled in the 21st century BCE. The temple is well preserved and offers a variety of artistic exploration. Rows of square columns support 3 levels of large terraces, connected by a central ramp of steps. The solar cult complex houses a sun altar in the upper courtyard. When we go inside, we find many reliefs on the walls depicting narratives of Hatshepsut's life, offering processions for the queen, and even Thutmose III makes an appearance as he offers gifts to the god Ammon. There are also several chapel areas dedicated to specific Egyptian gods, especially to the goddess Hathor and the god Anubis. Following Queen Hatshepsut's death in 1458, Thutmose III embarked on a campaign to remove this woman pharaoh from Egyptian history, and ordered the vandalism and destruction of her statues and temples. We are fortunate this temple has withstood the test of time and the test of spiteful vengeance. Artifacts of Hatshepsut have been recovered and are housed in many museums, such as this 7-ton limestone Sphinx of Hatshepsut. It's displayed at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York. Notice how she is presented as a male ruler, with the traditional headdress and even the false beard. And this sandstone stela portrays Hatshepsut offering 2 vases to the god Ammon. She is accompanied by Thutmose III, who wears the crown of Upper Egypt. This artifact is housed at the Vatican Museum. What a wondrous journey through the life of a very memorable Egyptian pharaoh. Queen Hatshepsut relied on divine intervention, divine fabrication, and divine commemoration as she altered the historical narrative of Egyptian male sovereignty, professed she was the daughter of a god, and then re-emerged from the sands of Egypt after Thutmose III tried to wipe her from history. Divine providence or sheer luck, Hatshepsut's story has been preserved by the artifacts of ancient Egypt. Let us continue our trek through the Exhibit of Divine Interaction as we pay a visit to another well-preserved ancient temple, this time in Greece. The sumptuous civilization of Greece, another benchmark in the human narrative. Here, in the Athenian Agora, the birthplace of democracy, we are surrounded by remnants of architectural magnificence. 5th century BCE Athens witnessed many major construction projects, such as the Parthenon, under the guidance of Ictinus. In fact, it was Ictinus who also designed our current destination. Not much farther now. Behold, the Temple of Hephaestus. Built around 449 BCE, it is a prime example of archaic architectural features in the golden age of classical Athens. Look at those teeming Doric hexa-style columns demonstrating entasis, as they precisely connect to the triglyphs above. The friezes still contain relief images of mythological narratives, such as battles with centaurs and the labors of Hercules. The pediments above would have once held various statues, just like at the Parthenon. The Temple of Hephaestus is naturally dedicated to Hephaestus, the Greek god of blacksmithing and fire. But Athena was also worshipped at this temple. Statues of both are recorded to have been found here. But what was the significance of this old god of fire? Who exactly was Hephaestus? Hephaestus served as the blacksmith of the Olympian gods. He is usually portrayed as ugly or unkempt, and even with a lame foot, showing a connection to the imperfections of humanity. Master of crafts, Hephaestus forged the scepter and aegis of Zeus, the helmet of Hermes, and was even ordered to construct the first beautiful woman, Pandora. The National Archaeological Museum of Naples displays a 1st century fresco of yet another tale related to Hephaestus, or the Roman god Vulcan. Here, he premieres in Homer's Iliad, as he presents a set of armor to Thetis for her son Achilles. Oh, the irony of having been made by a god with a lame foot. Well, that wraps up our time here. Just imagine the interactions experienced by the ancient Greeks here at this temple and in Athens, making offerings and worshipping the gods and goddesses, even attributing key mythological narratives to their very historical presence among the people. There are many precious sights and memories here, but we must continue to the last destination in the Exhibit of Divine Interaction, Gothic France. Pilgrimages, kind of like our adventure, have been an important part of French history. Glorious cathedrals erected in major cities are destinations of Christian pilgrims. There is the Bourges Cathedral, the Reims Cathedral, the Amiens Cathedral, and another example of stunning Gothic architecture, our final stop. But forgive me, my French is not that good. Excuse me, madame, what is the name of this cathedral?
Cathédrale Notre-Dame de Chartres.
Ah, thank you. And what region are we in?
Centre-Val de Loire.
Ah, splendid. Merci beaucoup. Chartres Cathedral, dedicated to the Blessed Virgin Mary, was constructed in the early 13th century. It is a remarkable presentation of Gothic architecture. Shortly after its completion, a large fire destroyed much of the cathedral, and while this early Gothic western facade survived the flames, the rest of what we will see is the valiant restoration effort. While the ground level has rounded Romanesque arches at its entrance, the depth given to them is indicative of the dominant Gothic style. Within this portal entrance are many sculptures. The left panel presents Christ prior to the Incarnation, surrounded by ministering angels in heaven, while above the prophets placed in the lintel. The right panel presents scenes from the joyful mysteries of the Rosary, such as the Annunciation, the Visitation, the Nativity, and the Presentation, all culminated at the top, in the seat of wisdom, the Virgin Mary herself, with the Christ child on her lap. and the middle panel presents the second coming of the Savior at the end times. It is clear this cathedral entrance does not just record previous divine interaction, but also what is to come. As we enter, we are enveloped by Gothic architecture. Seamless columns leading into ribbed vaults in the ceiling, tall and fragile arches connecting the nave to the aisles, and glass mosaics fitted into the clerestories overhead. A recent 2014 restoration team removed all the grime and candle pollution collected on the walls over the last 800 years. Let's see if that really brightened things up. Wow, what a difference. Even look at one of the statues of the Virgin Mary. Blessed are ye, handmaid of the Lord. But what caused such an enormous shift from the older Egyptian, Greek, or Roman gods to this fascination with the Christian religion? Let's investigate one last art piece that portrays divine interaction. A 15th century fresco painted by Pietro Perugino, The Delivery of the Keys. Displayed in the Sistine Chapel of the Vatican, this high Renaissance fresco measures 11 feet by 18 feet and was created in 1482. It depicts the very foundation of Christian ecclesiology. The foreground shows Christ handing the keys of heaven to St. Peter, a declaration that a lasting interaction between God and man has taken place. Alongside these two are the other apostles and bystanders, one of whom is a self-portrait of Perugino himself. Space separates this foreground crowd from the middle terrace, where two biblical scenes, the tribute money from Matthew 17 and the stoning of Christ from John 8, create a continuous narrative. Even the background symbolizes Christianity's historical triumph with representations of the Arch of Constantine. In this fresco, Perugino modestly combines history and revelation, rightfully earning him the final stop in the exhibit of divine interaction. And thus, here we are, at the crossroads of Providence. I thank you for accompanying me on this journey through time and space, as we witness the architectural feats and the memorable moments of ancient peoples and artists alike. Wherever the path of life takes us, may you always be able to reflect on the hope and inspiration contained in the many artifacts housed here at the exhibit of divine interaction.